Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Usoko Diseko, and today I'm here with
Helen Tezuze,
Majosa Bella,
Rose Femo,
Boneti Kare,
Maran Makura.
and we are Group 10. And today we'll be having the pleasure of presenting to you the various stages of research writing. This will be the table of contents that we will be using for our presentation. Firstly, I would like to introduce our first presenter who will be further explaining about our presentation.
Before I go on, I would like to thank Reseho for giving me the stage. I'll be explaining on our topic, which is the various stages of research writing. The focus of our presentation is to guide others through the key stages of research writing. Research writing is a step-by-step process which involves finding a research problem, gathering information pertaining to that problem, analyzing the data, and finally presenting the findings in a clear manner. Our group will briefly discuss the main stages, which consist of the introduction, the research problem, the objectives, hypothesis, literature review, research design, discussion, conclusion, and lastly, recommendations. Through this presentation, my group and I aim to help everyone understand how each of these stages connect. I would like to give the stage to our next presenter, Bonnie.
I would like to thank Marang for handing me the floor. I will be taking everyone through the topic. The starting point of any successful research project is a well-defined subject of your choice. A topic is the main idea or issue that your study focuses entirely on. It is the focus that shapes your questions, methods, and analysis. As Donala has said in 2024, the elements of a good topic includes textual and time-bound criteria. These components offer useful guidelines for researchers when choosing a research topic, effectively preventing your research writing from being vague and overbroad. I would like to hand over the next subtopic to the next presenter, Maduro.
Thank you, Bonnie, for handing me the stage. I'd like to take you through the introduction. It is a piece of writing that introduces a topic of what one is writing and explains any context that the reader needs. For example, a report. It also states the purpose of what one is writing and why he or she is writing it. Lastly, it tells the reader what to expect. Moving on to the research problem. It is commonly known as the gap of the research. As Charles has stated, it is a problem that the researcher has found and is trying to solve. The importance of the research problem. It provides focus as it helps the researcher to stay on track. It identifies the knowledge gaps, and lastly, it shapes the research questions or the hypothesis. I will be giving the stage to Rose.
Thank you, Major, for giving me this opportunity. To begin with, I would like to explain the research objectives. Basically, every research project needs a direction, and this is where the research objectives comes in. This are what the researcher aims to accomplish. Moreover, the omissions of these objectives can lead to lack of focus. They are the main points where the researcher is investigating and present them to the reader. This helps to gain more knowledge about the topic in a much easier and simpler way. So here are the key aspects of the research objectives. Firstly, the purpose and clarity. Objectives say exactly what the researcher will do and complete the study clearly and realistically. Secondly, relation to the aim. The specific steps on how to reach the main goal. And lastly, the research question. It helps to guide the question needed to be answered. And I'm going to give it to my colleague, Marang.
Thank you, Rose, for giving me the stage. Today I'll be talking about the hypothesis. This is an educated guess that can be tested through a research. According to Divya, A hypothesis shows an anticipated relationship between variables in an investigation. The types of hypothesis. There is the simple hypothesis, complex hypothesis, and directional hypothesis. Some of the advantages are it keeps the research focused as it narrows the vast field of study into a specific question. Secondly, it can be proved false, making it easier for the researcher to remove any incorrect ideas and move closer to the truth. Last but not least, it helps the researcher predict the outcomes. As a result, it creates a clear pathway for the entire research process. The disadvantages are, it is not always applicable, as not all studies require a hypothesis. Take an exploratory research for an example. This type of research develops hypotheses, it does not test them. Secondly, it may prove biased information, as the researcher may change the information to his or her own liking. Lastly, it may narrow the researcher's research too much as it limits information. I would like to give the stage to our next presenter, Resero.
Thank you, Marang, for the opportunity. Literature review. In research writing, the literature establishes the theoretical and conceptual foundation of your research. Literature review is defined as an extensive summary, analysis, and evaluation of public information in a specific topic, identifying and highlighting gaps in a large body of secondary data. According to Ruby.D 2014, literature reviews offer a synopsis of sources you analyzed while researching a particular topic. It shows the relationship between your study and the existing research in the field. The benefits of literature review is that it gives a solid foundation to your research, and it also shows your critical thinking skills. However, it can be overwhelming if the field of study is overpopulated, and it requires careful organization to avoid repetition. Now I'll be handing over the floor to the next presenter.
Thank you, Resero, for handing over the floor to me. Now I'll be taking everyone on the research design. A research design is the final plan as to how the entire research study will be conducted. As we can see, it clearly states how the entire data will be collected, measured, and analyzed to answer the research question or test the hypothesis stated. Basically, it helps ensure if one's research is valid and can be replicated. It also helps organize the research for easier comprehension for the reader to be able to understand what is being laid out in the research. There are different types of research designs, and I have 4 here. The first one is the case study, the second, descriptive, third, experimental, and lastly, exploratory. Thank you. I will be handing the research topic to the next presenter.
Thank you, Bonnet, for handing over the floor to me. Now I'd like to take you through the discussion. It is essential to write the discussion with the reader in mind, so as to facilitate the understanding on the study. Furthermore, this is where the researcher states his or her findings and explains them in detail. It is basically explains how one's findings align with supporting evidence as well as contradicting statements to previous studies that were made. And lastly, according to Mike, in the discussion, one should relate their findings to what is already known in their field of study. Also, one should refer to the introduction and establish if what one has found was consistent with existing studies that were done before. Moving on to the conclusion. This is basically the recap of the main findings. It is the final stage that strengthens the main ideas and outcomes, but also shows the importance of the study by providing assurance as well as pointing to possible future research. And then lastly, the conclusion is where the research wraps up the main ideas and makes sure to leave the reader with a final impression. Not just a final one, but a strong final impression, as stated by Jack. And then lastly, one should restate the problem of their study, as well as summarize the overall findings, so that other people can also learn or contradict if they have any contradictions. I'll be handing over the floor to Rose, who will take you through the next stage.
Thank you, Linda, for giving me this opportunity to present. To conclude our various stages of research writing, I would like to dive into the recommendations. These are the suggested solutions given looking at what the researcher found out in their research. They are usually found out at the end of the report or a project. As you can see, they are meant to improve the given problem and give solutions to help solve the problem. Next, how to write a good recommendation. Firstly, every recommendation should link with one's result. One should be realistic. Finally, the researcher should be very clear and specific. I'll give the floor to the final presenter.
Thank you, Rose. Now, these are all the references that we used in our presentation. As we have seen, understanding the various stages of research writing has helped us approach academic work with confidence and ease, as each phase plays a vital role in guiding you through your investigation to producing a well-grounded and impactful research. Together, these aspects show that successful research is about finding answers and learning how to ask the right questions. This was Group 10, and thank you for your attention.